The stars were quiet that night over 4. Children played in the streets of New, the largest city on the colony world. Parents watched them with smiles on their faces. Nobody knew that death was coming from the sky. Admiral sat in his office on Earth, reading reports from the outer colonies. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served humanity for 40 years. He had seen wars and peace. He had buried friends and celebrated victories, but nothing in his long life prepared him for what happened next. His communication screen lit up with an emergency signal. The face of a young officer appeared. Her name was, and she was stationed at the listening post near 4. "Admiral," she said, her voice was shaking, "we have a problem." Leaned forward, "Report." "Ships, sir, hundreds of them, they came out of nowhere. They are attacking 4. Felt his blood turn cold. 4 was a peaceful colony. It had no military value. It was just a place where families lived and worked and raised their children. "Who was attacking?" he asked. "The Empire, sir." Everyone in the galaxy knew them. They were an old species, much older than humanity. They had conquered 12 star systems. They believed they were the greatest civilization in the universe. They looked down on every other species, especially the younger ones. Humanity had avoided them for decades. There was no trade, no communication, no contact. They wanted nothing to do with humans, and humans were happy to stay away from them. Until now. "Show me," said. The screen changed to show a live feed from 4. What saw made his heart stop. Warships filled the sky like a swarm of insects. They were dropping bombs on the cities below. Buildings exploded into fire and dust. Streets that were full of life moments ago were now full of death. Watched as a school collapsed. He watched as a hospital burned. He watched as people ran screaming through the streets, trying to escape the fire falling from above. There was no warning, there was no demand, there was no reason. They simply came and started killing. "How many people live on 4? Asked. His voice was barely a whisper. 3 million, sir. 3 million souls. 3 million men, women, and children. Farmers and teachers and doctors and artists. All of them under attack for no reason at all. "Get me the colony governor," ordered. The screen flickered. A face appeared, covered in blood and dust. It was Governor, a man had met once at a conference. He was a kind man who loved his people. "Admiral," said, his voice was broken. "They are killing everyone. We have no weapons, we have no ships, we cannot fight back." "Hold on," said, "help is coming." But even as he said it, knew it was a lie. The nearest military fleet was 2 weeks away. 4 would be ashes long before help could arrive. "Admiral," said, "please tell the galaxy what happened here. Tell them we were peaceful. Tell them we never hurt anyone. Tell them we just wanted to live." The connection cut off. The screen went dark. Sat alone in his office, staring at nothing. His hands were shaking. His eyes were wet with tears he did not bother to hide. For 3 days the attack continued. The ships moved from city to city, destroying everything. They burned farms and factories. They poisoned rivers and lakes. They hunted down survivors hiding in the mountains and forests. When they finally left, 4 was dead. The beautiful green world was now black and gray. Smoke rose from the ruins of civilization. Bodies lay everywhere, too many to count. Of the 3 million people who lived there, only 12,000 survived. They hid in caves and bunkers, trembling in the darkness as their world died above them. The survivors sent one message to Earth. It was recorded by a young girl named. She was only 10 years old. Her face was dirty and her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was strong. "They came without warning," she said. "They killed my mother and father. They killed my little brother. They burned my home. Please, someone help us. Please make them pay for what they did." The message spread across human space like fire. Every colony, every station, every ship received it. People watched in silence as Little told her story. Then they watched again and again. Something changed in humanity that day. Something ancient and terrible woke up inside them. It was a feeling their ancestors knew well, a feeling that had driven them to conquer their own world long ago. It was rage. Admiral called an emergency meeting of the Human Defense Council. Leaders from every colony attended. They argued and shouted and pounded tables. Some wanted immediate war. Others counseled patience. In the end, stood up and spoke. The room fell silent. "I have served humanity my whole life," he said. "I have always believed in peace. I have always believed that war should be the last option, not the first." He paused and looked around the room. "But there are some crimes that cannot be forgiven. There are some acts so evil that peace becomes impossible. They did not attack our soldiers. They did not attack our ships. They attacked our children. They attacked our families. They attacked everything we love." His voice grew harder. "They think we are weak. They think we will cry and hide and do nothing. They are wrong. They have made the worst mistake any species can make. They have awakened the sleeping giant. They have provoked humanity." His eyes burned with cold fire. "And now they will learn what happens to those who touch our children. They will learn it with fire and blood and death. They wanted war. We will give them extinction." The room erupted in cheers. The decision was made. Humanity was going to war. Far away, in the ruins of 4, Little looked up at the stars. She did not know that her message had changed history. She did not know that billions of people had heard her words. She only knew that she was alone and afraid and cold. But somewhere deep inside her she felt something else. She felt hope. She knew that humanity would not forget. She knew that help was coming. And she knew that they would pay for what they had done. The stars were no longer quiet. They were waiting, waiting for the storm that was about to come. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the Iron Wolf, and watched the stars. She was a small woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had been a soldier for 15 years. She had fought pirates and rebels and criminals, but she had never fought a real war. Now war had come to find her. Her communication officer, a young man named, turned to face her. "Captain, we have received orders from Admiral." "Read them," said. "All ships are to gather at Rally Point Alpha. Full combat readiness. Prepare for extended campaign." Nodded slowly. Rally Point Alpha was a secret location in deep space, far from any planet or station. It was where the human fleet would come together. It was where the war would begin. "Set course," she ordered. "Maximum speed." The Iron Wolf turned and jumped into hyperspace. Behind it, hundreds of other ships were doing the same thing. From every corner of human space, ships were moving. Warships and supply ships, troop carriers and medical frigates. Everything humanity had was heading to one place. On the colony world of Prime, Commander stood before his soldiers. There were 10,000 of them, standing in perfect rows under the hot sun. They were the best ground troops humanity had. They were called the Steel Tigers, and they had never lost a battle. "You have all seen the message from 4, said. His voice was calm but hard. "You have seen what they did to our people. You have seen the bodies of children in the streets." The soldiers stood in silence. Many of them had tears in their eyes. Some had family on 4. Some had friends. All of them had rage in their hearts. "They think we are soft," continued. "They think we are weak. They think we will be easy to kill." He smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "We are going to show them how wrong they are. We are going to teach them that humanity does not forgive. We are going to teach them that humanity does not forget. And we are going to teach them that when you kill our children, we will kill everything you have ever loved." The soldiers cheered. The sound was like thunder rolling across the land. "Pack your gear," ordered. "We leave in 6 hours." Across human space, the same scene played out again and again. Soldiers said goodbye to their families. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Engineers prepared weapons and ships. Everyone had the same look in their eyes. It was the look of people who had been hurt badly and were ready to hurt back. At Rally Point Alpha, the ships began to arrive. First came the fast scouts, then the destroyers and cruisers. Then came the battleships, huge vessels bristling with weapons. And finally came the carriers, each one holding hundreds of fighters and bombers. Admiral watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Hammer of Earth. He had never seen so many ships in one place. The human fleet stretched across space as far as the eye could see. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. "How many ships do we have?" he asked his aide, Lieutenant. 642 combat vessels, sir. 200 supply ships. Total crew of approximately 800,000. Nodded. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. It was everything they had. Captain's Iron Wolf took position near the front of the formation. She looked out at the sea of ships around her and felt a strange mix of emotions: pride and fear, hope and grief. She thought about the children of 4 and felt her hands tighten on the arms of her chair. "We are going to make them pay," she whispered to herself. "Every single one of them." On the troop carrier behind her, Commander addressed his steel tigers one last time. "Some of you will not come back," he said. "Some of you will die on alien soil far from home. I will not lie to you about this. War is death." He paused and looked at their faces. They were young and old, men and women. They came from different colonies and different backgrounds, but right now they were all the same. They were all soldiers. They were all ready. "But death is not the worst thing," continued. "The worst thing is to do nothing when evil strikes. The worst thing is to watch your people suffer and turn away. We will not turn away. We will face the enemy. We will fight them. And if we die, we will die knowing that we stood up for what was right." The soldiers pounded their chests in salute. The sound echoed through the ship like a drum of war. Admiral opened a channel to all ships. His face appeared on every screen in the fleet. His voice reached every ear. "Soldiers of humanity," he said, "today we go to war. We did not want this war. We did not start this war, but we will finish it." He paused to let his words sink in. "They believe they are superior. They believe they can kill us without consequence. They believe we are too weak to fight back. Today we prove them wrong." His voice grew stronger. "For centuries, humanity has spread across the stars. We have built colonies on 100 worlds. We have raised families. We have created art and science and culture. We have been peaceful because we chose peace. But make no mistake, when we are threatened, we are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." The fleet listened in silence. Every man and woman felt the weight of his words. "They killed 3 million of our people. They killed children playing in the streets. They killed mothers holding their bobbies. They killed old men in their beds. They showed no mercy. They will receive no mercy." His eyes burned with fury. "We are not going to defeat them. We are not going to conquer them. We are going to destroy them. Every ship, every city, every last one of them. When we are finished, the word will mean only one thing: the species that made the mistake of attacking humanity." The fleet erupted in cheers. Ships flashed their lights. Horns blared across the void. The sound of humanity's rage echoed through space itself. "Set course for space," ordered. "All ships, maximum speed. Let the galaxy watch. Let them see what happens when you provoke humanity." The fleet moved as one. 600 ships turned and jumped into hyperspace, leaving trails of light behind them. They were a sword flying through the darkness, aimed at the heart of the Empire. Back on Earth, people watched the fleet departure on their screens. They stood in city squares and living rooms, watching in silence. Some wept, some cheered, some simply stared. A young man named stood in the crowd in Seoul. His brother had lived on 4. His brother was dead now, along with his wife and 2 children, had not slept in days. He had not eaten. He had only watched the news and cried. Now, watching the fleet depart, he felt something new. It was not happiness. It was not peace. It was something colder and harder. It was satisfaction. "Make them pay," he whispered. "Make them pay for everything." Somewhere in the fleet, his words were being answered. Humanity was coming, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. The war had begun. Ambassador was not a soldier. She had never held a weapon. She had spent her whole life talking, negotiating, making peace between enemies. She believed that words could solve any problem. She believed that understanding could end any conflict. Now she stood on the bridge of a small diplomatic ship, flying toward the... Behind her, hidden in deep space, the entire human fleet waited. They waited for her to fail. Everyone expected her to fail. Admiral had given her this mission not because he thought it would work, but because humanity needed to show the galaxy that they had tried. They needed to show that they gave them a chance. "We are approaching the border," her pilot said. His name was a calm young man who showed no fear. "Any response to our diplomatic signals?" asked. "Yes, Ambassador, they are allowing us to pass. They seem amused." Closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She knew what she was walking into. They were not going to apologize. They were not going to make peace. They were going to laugh at her and send her away. But she had to try. That was who she was. That was called Prime. It was a beautiful planet covered in purple forests and silver oceans. From space, it looked peaceful. It looked innocent. It was hard to believe that the species living there had just murdered 3 million people. Ship landed at the Grand Hall of the High Council. She stepped out onto alien soil and looked around. The architecture was impressive, all tall spires and flowing curves. The who greeted her were tall creatures with 4 arms and gray skin. They moved with grace and confidence. They looked at her like she was an insect. "The human ambassador," one of them said. His voice was full of contempt. "How brave of you to come here, or perhaps how stupid." Kept her face calm. "I come in peace. I come to speak with your High Council. They are waiting for you. They want to hear what the little humans have to say." She was led through long hallways filled with art and treasures. The love to display their wealth and power. Every wall held paintings of their conquests. Every corner held statues of their great leaders. They wanted everyone to know how important they were. Saw none of it. She focused only on her mission. The High Council chamber was enormous. It could hold thousands of people. Today, it held only the 7 members of the council, sitting on raised platforms that looked down at visitors. They wanted everyone who came before them to feel small. Stood in the center of the room and looked up at them. She did not feel small. She felt angry, but she hid it well. "Ambassador of humanity," the council leader said. He was old, even by standards, with wrinkled gray skin and cold eyes. "You have come far. Speak your piece." Stepped forward. "Honored council members, 10 days ago, your fleet attacked the human colony of 4. You killed 3 million innocent people. You destroyed our cities and poisoned our land. You gave no warning and showed no mercy." The council members exchanged glances. Some of them smiled. "I come to ask why," continued. "I come to ask what we did to deserve this attack. I come to offer a path to peace." The council leader laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Peace," he said. "You come to offer us peace. Little human, you do not understand your position. We attacked you because we wanted to. We killed your people because they were in our way. You are nothing to us. Your entire species is nothing to us." Felt her hands shake, but she kept her voice steady. "We have done nothing to harm you. We have stayed away from your space. We have never threatened you." "Your existence threatens us," another council member said. "You spread across the galaxy like a disease. You breed too fast. You build too much. Eventually, you would become a problem. We decided to solve that problem early." 3 million people were not a problem, said. They were families. They were children. "They were humans," the council leader said. "And humans are weak. We have conquered hundreds of species. We have crushed empires that were older than your civilization. You are nothing special. You are just the next prey." Stared at him. All her training, all her belief in diplomacy crashed against the wall of his arrogance. She had met difficult negotiators before. She had never met pure evil. "I carry a message from Admiral," she said, "the commander of the human fleet." "Oh," the council leader leaned forward. "What does your little admiral have to say?" "He says this: return the bodies of our dead, pay compensation to the survivors, surrender the commanders who ordered the attack. Do these things and there will be peace, refuse and there will be war." The council erupted in laughter. The sound filled the chamber, bouncing off the walls. They laughed like had told the funniest joke in the galaxy. "War," the council leader said when he could speak again. "You threaten us with war. Little human, we have 3,000 warships. We have armies on 100 worlds. What do you have?" "Enough," said quietly. "Enough," he laughed again. "You humans are adorable. You really think you can fight us. You really think you can win." Looked at him with steady eyes. "I think you have made a terrible mistake. I think you do not understand what you have awakened. I think that one day soon you will remember this moment and wish you had listened." The council leader's smile faded. For just a moment something flickered in his eyes. It might have been doubt. It might have been fear. Then it was gone. "Go home, little human," he said. "Tell your admiral that they do not negotiate with insects. Tell him that if he wants war, we will be happy to teach him what war really means. Tell him that soon Earth will burn just like 4. Nodded slowly. I will tell him everything." She turned and walked out of the chamber. They watched her go, still laughing among themselves. They did not see the cold smile that crossed her face as she left. She returned to her ship and flew away from Prime. When she was safely past the border, she opened a channel to Admiral. Ambassador said, "What is their answer?" "They refused everything. They laughed at us. They said they will burn Earth next." His face showed no surprise. He had expected this. "Thank you, Ambassador. You have done your duty. Now it is our turn." Admiral said, "I have always believed in peace. I have always believed that words could solve any problem. And now," his eyes were hard as stone, "now I believe that some problems can only be solved with fire. Destroy them all." Nodded, "Return to Earth, Ambassador. Watch the war from there. I promise you it will be short." The channel closed. Looked back at the space she had just left. Somewhere behind her, 600 human warships were powering up their weapons. Somewhere behind her, 800,000 soldiers were preparing for battle. They had been warned. They had chosen to ignore the warning. Now they would pay. On the flagship hammer of Earth, Admiral stood before his crew. His voice was carried to every ship in the fleet. "They have made their choice. They have chosen death. Let us give them what they asked for." The fleet moved forward. The sky over the border lit up with the glow of engines. The war had truly begun. And they, in their arrogance, still did not understand what was coming for them. They would understand soon enough. General stood in the war room of the Hammer of Earth, studying the map of space. 12 star systems, hundreds of planets, billions of people, all of it marked for destruction. "Their first defensive line is at the system," he said, pointing at the holographic display. "They have stationed 500 ships there. They expect us to attack head-on." Admiral nodded. "And what do you recommend?" Smiled. It was the smile of a hunter who had found his prey. "We do not attack head-on. We attack from everywhere at once." The plan was simple but brutal. The human fleet would split into 6 groups. Each group would hit a different target at the same time. They could not defend everything. They would have to choose what to protect and what to abandon. They would choose wrong. The first battle began at dawn time. Captain led the attack on the system. Her group had only 80 ships against 500. The commanders laughed when they saw the small force approaching. They stopped laughing when ships opened fire. Human weapons were different from weapons. They were not elegant or beautiful. They were ugly and brutal and designed for one purpose: to kill as efficiently as possible. Each human ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The first battleship exploded in a ball of fire, then another, then another. The formation broke apart as ships tried to escape the rain of death falling on them. "Press forward," ordered. "Do not let them run." Her pilots obeyed with savage joy. They had all seen the images from 4. They had all watched Little's message. Every shot they fired was revenge. Every explosion was justice. In 3 hours the battle was over. 400 ships were destroyed. The rest fled into deep space, their crews screaming in terror. Human losses: 12 ships, 200 crew members. The other attack groups reported similar results. Everywhere they were falling back. Their confident defense was turning into chaos. They had never faced an enemy that fought with such fury. They had never faced an enemy that was willing to die just to take them with them. The High Council watched the reports in stunned silence. System after system was falling. Their mighty fleet was being torn apart. The species they had dismissed as insects was tearing through their defenses like a blade through paper. "How is this possible?" the council leader demanded. "They are supposed to be weak." His advisors had no answers. They could only watch as the map of their empire turned red with human advance. 2 weeks into the war, the human fleet reached Prime itself. General stood on the bridge of his assault ship, looking down at the beautiful purple planet. "This is where it ends," he said. They had gathered everything they had left around there. 2,000 ships formed a wall between the humans and their planet. It was an impressive sight. It would have scared any other species. The humans were not scared. "All ships attack formation," Admiral ordered. "Let them see what human rage looks like." The battle for Prime lasted 18 hours. It was the largest space battle in galactic history. Ships exploded like fireworks across the void. Bodies floated among the debris. The darkness of space lit up with the fire of 1,000 weapons. Lieutenant led the fighter squadron called the Black Dragons. She was young, barely 25 years old, but she flew like a demon from hell. Her squadron tore through the defenses, destroying their orbital platforms and defense stations. "Target the power generators," she commanded her pilots. "Blind them." One by one, the orbital defenses went dark. The wall that protected them crumbled. The human fleet pushed through, taking losses but never stopping, never retreating. By the end of the battle, the fleet was gone, not defeated, gone, every ship destroyed or captured. The space around Prime was filled with wreckage. Commander Steel Tigers were the first to land on the planet's surface. They dropped from orbit in assault pods, screaming through the atmosphere like meteors. The ground forces tried to stop them. They failed. The Steel Tigers fought like machines. They moved from city to city, destroying everything military: barracks and weapons factories, communication centers and government buildings. They showed no mercy because they had been shown no mercy. But they did not kill civilians. This was the order from Admiral. He wanted the people to see. He wanted them to understand. "Humanity does not murder innocents," he had said. "We are not like them. We will destroy their ability to make war. We will destroy their leaders, but we will not become monsters." The High Council tried to flee. They packed their treasures and ran for their ships. They did not make it far. General himself led the team that captured them. He found them hiding in an underground bunker, surrounded by guards. The guards fought bravely, but they were no match for the Steel Tigers. When the smoke cleared, stood before the 7 members of the High Council. They were not laughing anymore. They were on their knees, begging for their lives. "Please," the council leader said. His voice was broken. "We were wrong. We made a mistake. Show mercy." Looked at him with cold eyes. "Did you show mercy to the children of 4? We We will pay, we will give you anything, just let us live. Shook his head. You do not have anything we want except your lives, and those are already ours. The High Council was taken back to Earth for trial. The trial was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species watched as the proud leaders stood in chains, answering for their crimes. They were found guilty, all of them, guilty of genocide, guilty of murder, guilty of crimes against humanity. The sentence was death. On the day of their execution, Little was there. She had survived the attack on 4. She had been rescued by human soldiers. Now she stood in the crowd, watching the ones who killed her family face justice. The council leader saw her. Their eyes met. In his eyes she saw fear. In her eyes he saw something worse. He saw nothing. No hate, no anger, just cold, empty satisfaction. The execution was quick. The leaders died without dignity, without glory. They died like the criminals they were. Back on Prime, the cleanup continued. The military was completely destroyed. Their government was dissolved. Their empire was broken into pieces. Admiral walked through the ruined streets of the capital. He saw the fear in the eyes of the civilians watching him. He saw how they flinched when human soldiers passed by. This is what happens, he said quietly, to no one in particular. This is what happens when you think you can hurt us without consequence. He looked up at the sky, where human ships still patrolled. Remember this day, he said. Remember what we did here, and remember why we did it. The war was not over yet, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had won. They were finished. And the galaxy was watching. 1 year had passed since the war began. 1 year of fire and blood and death. 1 year that changed the galaxy forever. The Empire was gone. Not defeated, not conquered, gone, erased from the universe as if it had never existed. Their planets were burned and lifeless. Their cities were dust. Their people were scattered to the winds, refugees begging for shelter among species they had once looked down upon. Admiral stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, looking down at the blue world below. He was older now. The war had taken years from his life. His hair was completely white, and his face was lined with exhaustion. But his eyes were still sharp, and they were still cold. Admiral, Lieutenant said, approaching him. The Galactic Council has requested your presence. They want to discuss the situation. Almost smiled. The Galactic Council, a gathering of representatives from every major species in the known universe. For decades, they had ignored humanity. They had treated humans as young and unimportant, just another small species trying to survive in a big galaxy. They did not ignore humanity anymore. The council chamber was vast, filled with beings of every shape and size. Some had scales, some had feathers, some had no bodies at all. They all turned to watch as Admiral entered. He walked to the center of the room and stood there, alone. Admiral of Earth, the council chairman said. He was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and large eyes. You have been called here to answer questions about the... Ask your questions, said. What happened to them? Our scouts report that there is... Gone. All 12 of their systems are empty. Billions of people have simply vanished. Looked at the chairman with steady eyes. They attacked us. They killed 3 million of our people. We responded. Responded, another council member spoke up. She was short and round, covered in golden fur. You did not respond. You committed genocide. You wiped out an entire species. No, said. We did not kill all of them. We destroyed their military. We dismantled their government. We broke their ability to ever threaten anyone again. But we did not hunt down civilians. Those who survived are still alive somewhere. Then where are they? The chairman asked. Scattered, hiding, living as refugees on the edges of the galaxy. They will never rise again. They will never build ships or armies, but they are alive. The chamber fell silent. The council members looked at each other nervously. They had all heard the stories. They had all seen the images of burning cities and shattered fleets. They had all wondered, could this happen to us? Admiral, the chairman said carefully, the Council is concerned. Humanity has shown power that we did not know you possessed. Many species are afraid that you might turn this power against them. Turned to face the entire chamber. His voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. Let me make something very clear, he said. Humanity does not want war. We did not want to destroy They forced our hand. They attacked civilians. They murdered children. They gave us no choice. He paused, letting his words sink in. We have no interest in conquest. We have no desire for empire. We want only to live in peace, to raise our families, to explore the stars. We will trade with any species that wants to trade. We will be friends with any species that wants friendship. His voice grew harder. But hear this and hear it well. If anyone attacks our people, if anyone threatens our children, if anyone thinks they can hurt us without consequence, they will learn the same lesson they learned. We will not stop. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will destroy them so completely that the universe will forget they ever existed. The chamber was absolutely silent, not a single being moved. They asked what would happen if they provoked humanity, continued. Now the galaxy knows the answer. Complete and utter destruction. Remember that, and choose your actions wisely. He turned and walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop him. Back on Earth, life was slowly returning to normal. The war memorials were built. The dead were honored. The survivors of 4 were given new homes on a beautiful world called New Hope. Captain retired from the military. She had killed too many people, seen too many deaths. She wanted peace now. She bought a small house by the sea and spent her days watching the waves. Commander stayed in the service. Someone had to protect humanity. Someone had to make sure this never happened again. He trained the next generation of soldiers, teaching them to be strong but also to be wise. General became the head of the Human Defense Force. He reorganized the military, making it stronger and smarter. Under his leadership, humanity's defenses became the most advanced in the galaxy. Lieutenant became a legend. Her name was spoken in whispers across 100 worlds. They called her the Angel of Death, the human who could fly through any defense and destroy any target. She married her childhood sweetheart and had 3 children. Ambassador returned to diplomacy. She worked harder than ever to build bridges with other species. She wanted peace. She believed that the best way to honor the dead was to make sure there would be no more war. And little she grew up. She went to school, she made friends. She learned to smile again. On her 18th birthday, she visited the memorial for 4. It was a simple place, just a wall with names carved into stone. 3 million names, 3 million lives cut short. She found her parents' names. She found her brother's name. She touched the cold stone and felt tears run down her face. I remember you, she whispered. I will always remember you. She stayed there for hours, just looking at the names. When she finally left, she felt something she had not felt in years. Peace. The galaxy had learned its lesson. No species ever attacked humanity again. Trade flourished. Friendships formed. The universe moved forward into a new era. But they never forgot what humanity was capable of. They never forgot the fate of the. Sometimes, young aliens would ask their parents what happened to the. The parents would look around nervously and speak in quiet voices. They attacked the humans, they would say. They killed human children. And then what happened? The humans destroyed them completely, utterly. There is nothing left of them now, nothing but dust and memories. The young aliens would nod and think about this. They would look at the stars and wonder about the species called humans. They seemed nice enough. They traded fairly and kept their promises. But somewhere deep in their hearts, the young aliens understood the truth. Humans were kind, humans were generous, humans were friendly. But humans were also the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And only a fool would ever forget that. In his office on Earth, the old admiral sat in his chair and looked at a picture on his desk. It showed the children of 4 playing in the streets of New just hours before the attack. "I kept my promise," he said to the picture. "I made them pay, I made them all pay." He closed his eyes and, for the first time in years, he slept without nightmares. The stars were quiet again. But they would never forget.